It's been 5 months since the Rolex 24 at Daytona. The championship was anybody's then and still is now. But tonight marks the halfway point of the season and the genuine title contenders will emerge here at Daytona International Speedway. Let's bring you up to date with the Daytona prototype point standings here at round 6. And for the first time, we see a team and the driver combination really start to edge away. Scott Pruitt, Max Pappas, amazing what back-to-back victories will do for your title hopes, but it's still tight through the top 10, that's for sure. Hello everyone, I'm Lee Diffie along with our road racing analyst Dorsey Schrader. Welcome to Daytona International Speedway for round 6 of the Rolex Sports Car Series. Dorsey, those points are the big talking point at the moment because that's the biggest lead margin we've seen in the championship to date. Are they runaways, the Ganassi guys?
No, I don't believe so at all. I mean, these are the fastest guys right now. They've seen that, having won 5 out of 6 poles, 2 in a row. But if they drop out of one race, which could happen, then it's all back a wash, isn't it?
And they've got some pretty stiff competition tonight. The big news is we welcome back to the Rolex Sports Car Series Tony Stewart. And with more on that, here's Chris Neville.
Lee, Tony Stewart and Andy Wallace thought they had the victory in hand back in February at the Rolex 24, but with 17 minutes to go, they lost that victory. Tonight, they're looking for redemption. They think they have the car. They think they've got the strategy. This team feels that they can do this in a 2 pit stop race, while most of the other teams think it's going to be a 3 pit stop race. They've also employed the efforts of Robbie Gordon's Busch Series pit crew, so they're going to be fast in pit lane. They've got the talent. They've got the strategy. They think they can get Tony Stewart his first win at Daytona in a sports car.
And what a beautiful looking car it is. They've done a wonderful job with that, so we see 3 of the Howard Boss Motorsport cars here. Our next category, of course, 3 different categories in the Rolex Sports Car Series. GT point standings look like this. Only 3 separate Boris Said and Bill Aublin. Mike Fitzgerald, after a podium recently, he still hangs in there in 3rd, and then the first of the Racers Group Porsches. But there's big news in the GT camp this round, and Calvin Fish can tell us more.
Well, indeed, Lee. Bill Aublin and Boris Said have been on a tear in the GT category, winning 4 races straight. But you saw in the point standings there that Boris Said holds a 3-point advantage due to the fact they ran in different cars at the 24 Hours here several months ago. But for this race, PTG boss Tom Milner has split these boys up. They've put them with the youngsters. Boris Said will be in the 22 car with Joey Hand, and Bill Aublin will share the 21 machine with Justin Marks. But it'll be interesting to see how those young guys develop under the tutelage of their more experienced teammates. But for me, the real treat tonight will be see Boris Said and Bill Aublin, 2 of the best sports car drivers in the business, go head-to-head, Lee. They
can go hard at it, and we will look forward to watching that. Our 3rd and final class is the Super Grand Sport class, the SGS boys, and we see a new point leader. Yes, it's still a TPC Porsche, but this time round it's Andy Lally and Mark Bunting, with thanks to their wonderful victory recently. They're going great guns, and it's TPC 1 and 2. And with more on this class, it's a very exciting class. Here's Brian Till.
Absolutely, it is exciting, Lee. You know, it takes consistency to win a championship in any series. No truer than in SGS, where any slip-up will cost you dearly. The most consistent guys out there so far, Mark Bunting and Andy Lally. They've been on the podium in every race, had a breakthrough win last weekend at Watkins Glen, as you mentioned, and that has catapulted them to the lead by 6 points over their teammates of Randy Popst and Michael Levitas. Michael Levitas and Randy Popst had been on the podium 2 victories and 2 second-place finishes, but a 12th place finish at Watkins Glen knocked them back. And I can tell you, it's going to be consistency in this class that puts the trophy on the mantle at the end of the year.
We've had a variety of different point leaders in the SGS class. Exciting stuff. That continues here under the lights at Daytona International Speedway. When we come back, we'll go racing. This is the Paul Revere 250 presented by Brumos Porsche. Back here at Daytona International Speedway, it is a wonderful and challenging circuit. Time to talk through the finer points. Let's have a look at the BMW track map with Dorsey Schrader.
Starting out right here in turn 1, this area of the racetrack is very, very fast. The cars will get some serious braking there. But this turn 3, that's going to be a menace tonight. That's very slippery at night, no question about it. You build speed down to turn 4. This is the fastest area on the whole racetrack. Wide open in these cars through there. You rejoin the banking. This is an area here that always causes problem. We call it the bus stop, hard braking. This is where the Daytona prototypes will have the biggest speed advantage on the rest of the field.
Let's take a look at how they'll line up for round 6 of the Rolex series, and there is something familiar about it. Yes, it is the 01 Comp USA Lexus Riley for Chip Ganassi Racing on the pole for the 5th time in 6 races. But the big news there, the great effort from David Donahue in the 58 Brumos Red Bull Porsche, first front row of the year and bringing much relief. the second Ganassi car there. Then Sylvain Tremblay did a terrific job in the Mears Motor Coach entry. Then it's the Michael Shank Daytona prototype ahead of Tony Stewart and Andy Wallace in the 20. Crawford with a Pontiac power plant in it. Hard charges and race winner. Max Angelelli, Wayne Taylor, they start from 7th. And you see young Ben Leuenberger joining the 27, Doran Lister Racing. And Didier Tays, the young Swiss driver, standing in, well, for a variety of people who are in that car, whether it be Freddie Leinhardt or Jan Magnussen. Our GT pole sitting car, starting from 19th overall. Great effort from Kevin Buckler and Liz Halliday. And they've been enjoying their runs in GT. A pole will always help you enjoy it a little more. And the SGS class pole sitters, the Nonamakers, have got it. Congratulations to them. Tremendous diversity in the poles this year in qualifying in SGS. And of course, Buckler broke that string of BMW poles there in GT. 37 cars in total. Keep an eye on that 37th car, the Ferrari of Ralph Kellners and Anthony Lazzaro. Can they work their way through? There's been a succession of pace laps here. You can see the cars roll over the back. What's going to be the key to victory here, Dorsey, tonight?
Well, keeping it clean is one thing for sure. This is a very cold racetrack. They practiced at almost 100 degrees the other day. This is the first laps they have around on a cold track. They have to get through it cleanly.
There is your race analysis. 2 3/4 hours, 70 laps, whichever comes first. You can see the lights are off on the pace car. We are coming to green, and the last 3 races here have been won by Bell Motorsports. Terry Borcello, Forrest Barber. Can they make it for tonight? They'll have a tough task ahead of them, but it is possible.
You know who I'm watching, don't you? Tony Stewart, Tony the Tiger, man, he's going to come charging.
And he is in that number 20 Pontiac Crawford. Watch them jump here. The pole-sitting car is Scott Pruitt. He is the point leader with his co-driver Max Pappas. We're clear to green now. Round 6 of the Rolex Sports Car Series. The Paul Revere 250 presented by Brumos Porsche. Can their car do it? It starts outside the pole. Let's roll at Daytona. Bit of dicing and ducking, and look at the outbraking move there. Jimmy Morales on the inside of Tremblay. Nice work.
Nice clean start so far. Everybody getting through turn 1 cleanly, and that's the first time we've had that happen in a while.
Good battle going on for position. The Mears Motor Coach car was right up there, but I tell you who has jumped right in there is Oswaldo Negri. Has come right up into 2nd place. Outstanding move in the first couple of corners.
That's a great move by Oswaldo, where the Ferrari is blown up.
Wow, I said keep an eye on it, but not for that reason.
Wow, look at that. Look at the amount of smoke in that.
Day done for the Ferrari, and that's right at pit in. So, and we are under full course caution already. But what a dynamic start from Oswaldo Negri.
From the looks of that Ferrari, there's probably a big trail of oil behind it there. I'm not too sure that didn't have some flame.
Well, and out of the car comes Ralph Kellners, and they try and figure out what is going on down there. Time to take a quick break. We'll make the most of this full course caution. We kind of got off to a good start. We'll get it started for real when we return here on Speed. It's a tough championship, the Rolex Sports Car Series, and it's even tougher now for the 30 Risi Competizione Ferrari. Ralph Kellners, it was an early night, did not even complete 1 lap, and you see it being towed away. And with more on this story, here's Brian Till.
Well, Lee, they don't know the exact problem, but I can tell you one thing. When the car stopped, there's a lot of oil underneath it. They don't know. Kellner said the engine shut down, but it didn't seem like an engine explosion. But it did shut down. It did lose fire, and there's a lot of oil underneath the car. And any way you look at it, doesn't really matter what caused it. That Ferrari, it's not prancing anymore, Lee.
No, it's certainly not.
I would say that was some real expensive smoke, the way that looked.
What a beautiful shot. The moon above Daytona Beach. And we are getting ready to come to the restart here. Lights are off on the pace car. Oswaldo Negri came from 5th to 2nd by the time he got to turn 3.
Yeah, he sure did. I mean, what a run. He just came right through the middle of that pack. We were looking for Tony Stewart to get really, really aggressive at the start and get what he could, but it was Oswaldo that impressed everyone.
Michael Shank Racing. A Lexus-powered Doran. Time to go back to work, time to go back to racing. Just to update you too, the 5, the Essex Racing car driven by Justin Praskowski received a drive-through penalty. So too did the 04. There's separate incidents, but the 04 received a penalty for jumping the start. Speaking of the start, look at Jimmy Morales. He's down almost on the grass.
He's on the apron, completely on the apron.
Came through right on the inside of Oswaldo Negri. Now David Donohue's in the mix, and Oswaldo Negri puts the squeeze on the Mexican. Side-by-side racing down through one.
Gets really tight right here. He's going to have to give up. Right there,
Oh!
the grass. That could be a big crash right there. There's no room to go off there.
That was a huge escape. Oswaldo Negri and Jimmy Morales going blow for blow. And fortunately, nothing untoward happened. Sylvain Tremblay puts a move on David Donohue, and Stewart's only a couple of cars back.
This is headed down to the fastest corner on the course right there, the kink. Flat out, but no margin of error. You don't want to bump anybody there.
Keep in mind, Tony Stewart has just completed qualifying for the Pepsi 400.
Jimmy Morales really putting the pressure on for the lead.
3 Lexus-powered cars lead the way. And that fight between those guys and Pontiac in the engine manufacturer's standings, very interesting. There's only 3 points between it. Now look at Morales on Pruitt.
But he moved too quickly there. He should have just tucked up behind him and used the draft, because you build speed right through this. This is NASCAR turn 2 right now. You build up all the speed. He lost it at the beginning there. The real place to pass is right up ahead here.
Pruitt riding high at the moment after a great win at Watkins Glen at the 6 hour, then a brilliant podium at Infineon Raceway last weekend in the Nextel Cup Series. So Scott is really on it at the moment, but his teammate Jimmy Morales, this is impressive stuff.
Jimmy Morales with a better shot out of that right there, the bus stop. Now he's done the right thing. Now he's tucked up in a nice, neat draft and should be able to really capitalize on that open air. Oh, look at it bottoming out. Really bottoming out on the banking there.
Earlier in the year when we were at Homestead Miami Speedway, Morales and young Luis Diaz had a shot at victory until Diaz ran wide on one of the restarts. They had a podium 2 weeks ago in Watkins Glen. They feel it is their time.
It almost appears that Scott Pruitt's Lexus is running a less downforce setup. He's quicker on the straightaway, but he's slower on the infield. You see right now Morales taking another look at him on the inside here at the gear cell, locks up the brakes.
Now, if he starts to really hustle Scott Pruitt, is Pruitt just going to let him by, Dorsey, not get engaged in a fierce fight at the front of this early stage?
Well, it's funny right now, the way it looks to me. Like I say, watch Pruitt's car on the banking. It looks like he's running less downforce and more top speed, which makes his job pretty easy.
Let's find out more about the 01 Ganassi car. Calvin.
Well, you're absolutely right, Dorsey. I spoke to Scott about an hour before the green flag this evening, and he claimed that they were looking for a bit more top-line speed on the banking, and they did take the Gurney wicker down, reduce the downforce on the rear of the car, but obviously that will handicap him a little bit in the braking zones and through the infield.
While we enjoy this battle up front, the Daytona prototypes, Mike Fitzgerald in the Orbit Racing Porsche leads GT ahead of Kevin Buckler. And then the 22 BMW of Joey Hand and Boris said, Joey doing the opening stint. They sit third in class at the moment.
That little wicker that Calvin was talking about is nothing more than a 90-degree flap at the edge of the wing at the back. It's called a gurney flap, and it makes a lot of downforce, but it also makes a lot of drag. And you can see right now, look at Pruitt, look at the legs that thing has, because it's running cleaner. See it stretched just a little bit right there.
Behind these guys is the 20, Tony Stewart. And this car's, it's a brand new car, incidentally. Its first race meeting. It hasn't done that much testing. It hasn't done many miles. And Tony Stewart team with one-time points leader Andy Wallace. And they currently sit 6th, right behind Wayne Taylor's SunTrust Pontiac, and Stewart trying to put pressure on him down into turn 1.
That surprised me right there. Wayne Taylor's car looks slow on the straightaway. It looked like Stewart was going to go right by him. I don't know if maybe he missed a gear on his downshift. I don't think so, though. That's a really good-looking car, that brand new Crawford.
Looks great, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sitco sponsorship at different colors. Sylvain Tremblay in the Mears Motor Coach Pontiac Riley doing a wonderful job up ahead of Wayne Taylor. And he's putting plenty of pressure on David Donohue in the 58 car. But you're looking at Nextel Cup star, 2002 champion Tony Stewart. We saw him back here in the Rolex 24-hour several months ago, 5 months ago, and he feels as though he's owed big time. So too is Andy Wallace, and he's with Chris Neville.
Thanks, Lee. Down here with Andy. Andy, you and Tony teamed up at the Rolex 24. You came so close to winning that race. How is it working with Tony?
Oh, you know, he's great, really. I mean, he jumps into the car, he does, I don't know, 30 minutes in the car, goes straight out, and he put the car in 6th place in qualifying, did a fantastic job. He always does that. Same in the 24 hours. He jumps in the rain, and within a couple of laps, he was right on the pace. Amazing. I'm sure I couldn't do that in his car, in his regular car.
This car is brand new. You guys haven't had too much testing time, but you've done all the development work with these cars. Is this car ready for this race?
Well, the guys did a great job screwing it together. It was really late, a couple of all-nighters before we got here. The first session we were fastest, so I think that speaks for itself. It's obviously a long, hot race. Anything can happen, but we're really feeling confident, and Tony's doing a great job out there.
Well, Andy's had a lot of success at Daytona. Now Tony's looking for his first sports car win.
And look at Tony Stewart use his knowledge and experience on the banking as he rounds up Wayne Taylor.
Well, he ate Wayne Taylor up last lap 2 on the straightaway, so I'm starting to suspect that there's a big difference in the amount of downforce the two are running. The other thing I'm seeing is that David Donahue's car is sparking quite heavily, and that means it's either too low. It shouldn't be sparking that bad right there.
And the Mears motor coach, Pontiac Riley, now moves up into 4th, then Donahue 5th. Tony Stewart 6th. We ride with point leader and race leader Scott Pruitt. Stay with us. We'll return in just a moment. Back at Daytona, this is the Paul Revere 250 presented by Brumos Porsche. Troubles early for the RX.com GNW car. Brent Martini behind the wheel. And they send him. Let's have a look at a replay. This might tell us a little more as to what happened.
I think we're going to see a little bit of a tire problem developing right here, because when I saw that car come in the pits, it was smoking. Yep. Oh, yeah, I'd say a little problem. That'd be a big problem. I think he just blew a right rear. And he's wisely gone straight through the bus stop to make it back to the pits.
Meanwhile, back up front, it's the two CompUSA Ganassi cars, the Lexus-powered Rileys. Scott Pruitt, the lead car. Jimmy Morales in the all-Mexican car. Look at this, side by side. David Donahue and Wayne Taylor. Taylor's managed to come back on Stewart. Stewart repays him.
We saw there the sparks again from Donahue's car. That thing really sparking badly under braking. Look at Taylor at the back end of this. Now here comes Stewart on a run.
Porsche-powered Fab car ahead of Tony Stewart's Pontiac-powered Crawford chassis, and then it's another Pontiac power, but with the Riley chassis. Chris, you have more on the 10?
Yeah, just checked in with Bill Riley down here in the SunTrust team, and it looks like they're not getting everything they can out of that Pontiac motor. So they're telling Wayne to try and do some tuning with the engine mapping, with all the dials and switches they've got in the car, see if they can get all the RPM out of it. You definitely don't want to be down a couple of RPM around this racetrack. Brian?
Well, Court Wagner in the 81 car, Brent Martini's in it right now. Court, very interesting when he came in. Both rear tires flat?
Both rear tires are flat. One was from a contact and the other one was from locking up. So we're not really sure yet just what happened. I'm going to have a talking to with Brent when he comes in, but these guys are doing a great job. The crew of the RX.com, GNW Motorsports, I can't thank these guys enough. Gerard Perrigo, an incredible effort here tonight. And, you know, it's really unfortunate. We had a really good race car, and Brent was doing a great job all weekend, so it's a disappointing situation.
Well, it is disappointing, but they do have some time to catch back up, and 2 flat tires around Daytona does not sound like fun to me, Dorsey.
Now that's a long way to go, and they both went at one time. Wayne Taylor's car is lame, guys. I can tell you that right now. He cannot at all run with any of these cars. Comes off the corner, it just doesn't have anything there. But right now, Tony Stewart and David Donahue having a good go of it. Donahue's car, though, surprising me. Watch it. It's sparking really badly. See it right here. It's not rough at Daytona on that part of the racetrack. It's rough up ahead. So he's either got that thing too low, and that can develop into a bigger problem later.
What a first outing. What a first race meeting for this new number 20, Crawford, with Tony Stewart behind the wheel. The car, so far, running perfectly.
I can tell you, driving behind Donahue's car at night like that, with those sparks in your face, it's absolutely blinding. As you're looking, I mean, Tony Stewart's getting that right in his face, right in the windscreen. The sparks come right out of the bottom, and it's just like a flashlight in your eye.
Further up the road, ahead of this battle, there's another great battle right here between Michael Shank Racing, the Lexus-powered Doran, and the Pontiac Riley. Those two guys going out at the battle for third. It's Oswaldo Negri up against Sylvain Tremblay, who really is relishing this opportunity to be in Daytona prototype racing in that brand new car. And Taylor, Stewart, Donahue still belting each other up out there.
But watch what happens here. Watch the third car in the back there. Wayne Taylor, when they come off the corner onto the straightaway, watch, he has nothing for them, whatever. Look, they just distance him. And that wasn't much of a straightaway. This one will be.
So Wayne does all the work on the infield.
Yeah.
The others say bye-bye on the bank.
Watch here, yeah. I mean, now they climb the bank, they get on the bank and watch. They just literally will start driving away from them as they head toward the bus stop. Now, if you're Wayne Taylor, this is not what you like to see at all. Because believe me, he's flat on the floor.
There's those sparks flying from Donohue's car up ahead.
This is the darkest part of the racetrack right here. It's really, really dark as you go into the bus stop.
Look at Stewart under brakes, not quite close enough to make that move on David Donohue.
This is the bus stop. You flick through here, get back on the throttle here, climb up to the banking up by the wall. Watch them just drive away from you. Whew.
From inside the SunTrust Pontiac, we take you back to this battle. Up front, and something's gone remiss with Morales. Jimmy Morales has dropped right off the pace and sits back now in fourth as Negri and Tremblay go right through. They bunch up. This is the top four. First, second, third, fourth. What has happened to the Mexican?
Well, you don't know what's gone on right there. I mean, he was definitely off pace for a minute. Now he looks like he's back going again.
Cal, do you have more on this?
Well, I'm down here with Mitch Davis, who oversees the O2 car. Mitch, any problem with him right now? He seems to have slowed down a little bit.
They came up on some lap cars there on the back straightaway, and I think he just hesitated a second, and it's so competitive that you can't do that right now.
Well, we understand there may be some smoke from the car, Mitch, but how important is it for you guys to run a pace? I know time management on this very slippery racetrack is going to be key tonight.
Yeah, they're running 150s right now. I think that's the pace we want to be running. He's just setting into a pace, and we're going to settle in here and see what the tires do.
All right, Mitch, good luck. We'll try and see if that problem develops any further. Let's go down to Brian Till.
Well, Calvin, down here with Mike Borkowski, Sylvain Tremblay, and Paul Mears in the car with you also, but you're one of the few guys out here that's actually driven all these different makes, Mike, and obviously you guys stepped into this new car and did really well. What is the difference between the chassis real quick?
You know what, Grand Am has done such an amazing job with the rules that there's different strengths and weaknesses to all the different cars, but Riley has just, like they always do, they've just built an excellent out-of-the-box package, and we just rolled out of the trailer the first time and the car's been good. So we're really excited about it. Thankful to Paul Mears for stepping up and making this commitment for all of us, but we're really excited and we're ready. I think we got a podium car here tonight.
Well, it certainly looks like they've got one. Paul Mears has been sick. They didn't know if he was going to drive, but he will be in tonight, Lee.
Thanks, Brian. Problems on track for Chip Vance in the 57 Porsche. And it looked like he got tangled up with one of the Nonamaker cars as well, one of the Planet Earth Motorsports Porsches. So Chip doing a great job trying to limp back. He's come off track trying to get this car back to pit lane. Meanwhile, we rejoin this battle, and there is no full course caution for that incident. It's local yellow only. Pruitt starting to scythe his way through the lap traffic already, and Sylvain Tremblay in the Mears Motor Coach car, brand new car. It's only its second race, runs a little wide, trying to execute that pass on the 73 with Jim Taffel on board.
Oh, and there again, I see the smoke coming out of the back of Jimmy Morales' car. I think he's getting rear brake lockup going into the carousel there. I've seen 2 times now that he's had tire smoke come out. That's not any way to conserve your tire.
Switch in the GT class. Kevin Buckler now leads the way for the Racers group, and in SGS, it's the Nonamakers leading. Andy Lally and Mark Bunting, and the 14 sitting third in the SGS class with Corey Friedman behind the wheel. Ganassi looking good at the moment. Welcome back to round 6 of the Rolex Sports Car Series here at Daytona International Speedway, and you look at a wonderful GT battle. First and second on track, the blue car, the blue Porsche, is Kevin Buckler, the man behind the hugely successful Racers group. He leads Mike Fitzgerald. Remember the 44 car sitting second. The silver Porsche was the one that won the GT class here at the Rolex 24 back in February.
And Fitzgerald has damage to the left rear of the 44. Somebody's gotten into the back corner of him and rearranged his fender. I don't think it was Kevin, but he's definitely had contact right on the back side there.
Kevin team with Liz Halliday once again. The second car, Mike Fitzgerald, drives with the father and son combination. Joe and Jay Policastro. So far, they've been enjoying their time here at the Paul Revere 250. Fortunately, it hasn't been a good time, though, for Chip Vance. Let's have a look at the 57. Here he gets together, and I think that may have been with the SGS class leading car for the Nonamakers. Chris, do you have more on this situation?
Yeah, Lee, I just checked in with Steve Souther down there, and it looked like Chip had a blowout on the right rear going into turn 1. Not a good place to have it, very high speed. They also had a blowout there in practice earlier in the week, so they don't know what's really going on with the car. They said the tire temperatures have been fine, but they're having problems, and they can't seem to keep tires on the rear. So and it doesn't look like he's going to be making his way back to pit lane. So it looks like their night is probably over.
Back to the Daytona prototype class, back at the front of the field. And you're seeing Wayne Taylor in that very familiar gold and black SunTrust Pontiac Riley starting to zero in now on Jimmy Morales.
We heard the report that he was adjusting from in the cockpit some of the engine management system. Now these cars have the ability to lean themselves out or go richer on their fuel injection. That's one of the things that they're working on, trying to get the performance out of that motor, which doesn't seem to, it just seems really flat today.
There's the Mears Motor Coach car with Sylvain Tremblay. The car that Jimmy Morales is coming up on now, Oswaldo Negri, and Wayne Taylor has made tremendous progress to catch up to these guys. Dorsey talked you through the struggles that he was obviously having on the high-speed section of the circuit. And Pruitt's dropped back. Our race leader has dropped back somewhat, or is he starting to come through now? Sylvain Tremblay, in fact, leads the way. The Mears Motor Coach car leads this race.
Unbelievable. We're on board here with Wayne Taylor in the 10 right there, going to pass. He gets by Morales. That's Oswaldo Negri right in front there. Wayne Taylor's got this machine back up to speed. Whatever his problem was, he's fixed it from inside. Look out, there's a portion.
Always a challenge to weave their way through the slower cars, the SGS and GT runners. But Wayne Taylor has made significant progress, and now the next victim on his list is Oswaldo Negri.
He's going to get him here in the brake zone. We know that this particular car, Taylor's car, this car is really good under braking. It's shown it all year long.
Negri's a tough customer to get by. He fights for every inch of the racetrack. But Wayne Taylor just came in hard and heavy there on the brakes. Now Morales wants a shot at Negri.
Morales really got a big, bad wiggle there a minute ago, almost like he was getting a flat tire.
And here's Tony Stewart arriving on the scene.
Something's going on at the front that slowed down everybody. I don't know what. They're all packed up now and having a heck of a go of it.
Look at this, 3 abreast, and Tony Stewart makes up 2 positions in the one move. Negri tries to come back on Morales. He didn't like that last move. So these guys scrapping it out, and they're not even in the top 3.
Now Tony is not accustomed to having anything inside of his car that's adjustable like these cars have. Brake bias, adjustable knobs, and so forth. Engine management.
One of the front-running SGS cars is in, Brian.
Well, we talked about consistency at the beginning of the show, and that is exactly what the 36 car has not seen over the last couple of races. They've run into problems out here. Actually, they've run into another car. A lot of damage to the right front. Bad luck for the 36 car and Michael Levitas. This is a team that was leading the championship in SGS until last weekend when a crash at Watkins Glen knocked them back to second, and it looks like they've had more bad luck today. That's good news for their teammates, Andy Lawley and Mark Bunting. Lee?
Yeah, Watkins Glen, they were wrong place, wrong time when Randy Popes was driving the car, and more trouble tonight. JC France in the 59, teamed with a 4-time winner of the Paul Revere, Hurley Hayward, and problems earlier for JC.
Oh, just got the rear brake lock up. We saw that before. Oh, and my goodness, goes around
Milcaduno.
Milcaduno, and that's right there in the entrance of the bus stop. So it does a good job of locking it down, and subsequently doesn't get in the wall that's right behind that.
Lucky escape for the man who enjoys this race here in his hometown. Back up front though. And what a time, what a moment for these guys, and for Paul Mears, who owns this car and the team, runs a massive transportation operation out of Orlando here in Florida. And they now lead this race in this car's second only race. Here is the pass for the lead. As Sylvain Tremblay is in that car.
Well, Pruitt has got some sort of a problem. You saw how much he had to complete to get out of it.
And that was those guys, in fact, going by the 81.
Yeah, it was the 81
that wasn't
that was
going
stricken.
by Pruitt.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was Brent Martini coming back out after he had to change those 2 rear tires. They did drive a Ford-powered Multimatic and simply found it a little too difficult just to come to terms with the car. And certainly no disrespect to that car or make. They thought about purchasing a new one. They watched the race results of cars like the SunTrust and the Ganassi. Thought we might go for one of those Pontiac Rileys, purchase one from Riley Technologies. Bill Riley has taken care of them. And right from the word go, you heard from one of the drivers, Mike Borkowski, earlier. Right from the moment they rolled it out to the transporter, it worked perfectly. There's Scott Pruitt, second place.
Now I think maybe Scott might have felt that he was running his tires off, and he's decided to lay back now and go into conservation mode. It's too early to be stopping to get tires or anything, so he might have burnt them down running that hard that early.
Taylor runs third. Tony Stewart runs fourth. This is the battle for fifth here. Jimmy Morales in the Ganassi, the Lexus-powered Riley, and then David Donahue chasing hard back in sixth. Brian.
Well, we saw a lot of sparks from David Donahue's car earlier on. I spoke with Mike Colucci and Darren Law both, and they said, well, two things going on really. One, it's got a lot of fuel in it right now. Obviously, it was full when it went out. It's going to be heavier. It's going to ride lower. And two, they put brand new skid blocks on that car. They hang down a little bit lower than the ones that had been worn in. So we'll see those sparks, or we should see those sparks anyway, dissipate as the scrub blocks get rubbed down. Horse.
Well, those scrub blocks they put in there, they just bolt them to the bottom, and they're intended to rub so that they don't rub on the chassis itself and rub through something that's critical.
No problem with the power of the Porsche as David Donahue blows by Jimmy Morales. GT, class-leading car. Kevin Buckler for the Racers Group. Still engaged in that battle with Mike Fitzgerald. And there's Max Pappas pointing to the Camp Boggy Creeks decal. We'll tell you more about that later in the show.
And I'm absolutely amazed that Wayne Taylor's been able to rectify his engine problem. He was really a lame duck earlier. But Calvin was talking about the maps, and there can sometimes be 3 different maps inside these cars. There's a switch on the dash, and one map could be for like rain driving, which takes a lot of the engine power away. And one might be for fuel conservation. Right now, there's the pass. And you know that guy's good on brakes right there.
That's exactly where he pulled off the move many laps ago on Oswaldo Negri. Tremblay gets back in the gas hard, trying to stay with him.
It's totally flat down there where you saw the Tremblay car get loose. It's totally flat before you pick up the banking. There's no grip there whatsoever.
Things going beautifully out front for the 01 Comp USA Ganassi Riley for Scott Pruitt. However, for the sister car, I don't think it's going so well. Calvin Fish has more.
Well, we didn't realize, but Jimmy Morales did have an off-course excursion, Lee. When Luis Diaz took off from here, you can see all the grass that was left here in pit lane, and that was what caused the engine to overheat. I checked in with Mitch Davis. He said we're going to monitor the telemetry. Hopefully the engine is okay, but it's certainly pouring out a lot of steam during that start.
Morales was in the thick of it, that's for sure, in that opening stint.
Oh, that's JC France has been off-road, and he's done damage to the back end of the Brumos Porsche.
Back up and going again. It's been an eventful start to this race.
Watch as he gets up to speed. I know he's done damage to the right rear. A lot of carbon fiber damage, and at the speeds they run around this racetrack, it can completely self-destruct here.
2 times race winner last year in the inaugural year of competition for the Daytona prototypes. Let's have a look at the replay of this situation, of this incident for JC France.
Right here, he's just wide of his apex quite a bit, gets out on the dirty part of the racetrack and spins and backs into...
Whoa, the Silverstone car was in it, and also the Southern Motorsports Fab car.
Yeah, he backed into the Fab car. This is on board here.
With Vic Rice.
Here's the spin. Oh, and that's kind of like what we call a sympathy spin. Vic spun, not as a result of anything.
That was just reactionary, wasn't it? Back up front, though, where the battle is on. And Wayne Taylor goes door-to-door with Scott Pruitt. Almost contact there. These guys running side by side, and the SunTrust car is back in front.
Wayne Taylor fixed his problems, and now look who's leading.
First time tonight the SunTrust car has been there. When we saw him being overtaken by various cars on the high-speed sections of the circuit, this car has settled into a good rhythm. So too as its owner, Wayne Taylor. And in front of many guests here from the SunTrust organization, they'll be applauding this move.
Well, welcome back to the Paul Revere 250 here at the Daytona International Speedway, where JC France has brought his number 59 Fab Car Porsche in. You can see obvious damage to the back. Hurley Haywood will be taking over. Probably no one better at this racetrack than Hurley Haywood. He's won the 24-hour race here 4 times. He's won the Paul Revere 4 times, not to mention Le Mans 3 times, Sebring twice. Not a better man in this car, but the car that he's been given is probably not as good as it was when it started. Obvious damage to the back. And And the question is, has that right rear taken a hit, and is the suspension square? We'll find out shortly, Lee.
The last time Hurley Haywood won the Paul Revere was back in 1983, and he did it with A.J. Foyt in a Porsche. From Hurley Haywood to Tony Stewart, here is the number 20, Sitco Crawford. It's got a Pontiac power plant in the back of it. As Tony comes up on one of our newest competitors, that's the Horizon Motorsports Pontiac GTO. It's a new GT car.
Oh, big power slide off the corner. I was looking at that car. It's very clean. It's very much like a stock car. It's almost like an ASA type stock car with stock car body and so forth on it. And it's its first outing ever, so nice to have a new car.
Chris Neville, tell us more about Tony Stewart.
Well, we've seen the three Rileys up front battling, but Tony really isn't that far behind him. He's just a couple steps back. And checking in with Max Crawford on that team. He initially said this was going to be a two-stop race, but now he's saying if they can get another caution, he's thinking it's going to be a one-stop race.
Wow.
So this team is really playing strategy. They're telling Tony to just take it easy. They're looking at it as more of an endurance, where we're seeing the Rileys going for an all-out sprint.
Well, that would be a huge advantage to make it a one-stop if possible. I know we've talked about the Crawfords getting the best fuel mileage, and we haven't yet seen how far one can go. But if they could do it in one stop, that would be something else.
And remember, back in February at the Rolex 24, 17 minutes. That's all it was that robbed this guy, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Andy Wallace, of victory in that 24-hour enduro. At one time, this car led the race. Now it's in pit lane. Brian.
Well, Sylvain Tremblay brings the Mears Motor Coach number 9, Lexus Riley. Oh, boy, they're not going to like me for that. Brings the Riley into a stop. He will get out. Paul Mears will take over. Now, that's interesting. Mears has had food poisoning. They did not even know if he would get in this car this weekend. He's lost over 10 pounds in just the last 3 days. Not a diet that you would want to be on, but he will drive this mental stint. It's going to be difficult out there, guys. Not only is it hot down here, very humid, it's going to be very uncomfortable for Paul Mears. But this new Riley chassis has given him new hope as a driver. He's adapted to it very well, and they have gone very, very quickly, Lee.
Slight problem there with that front gun.
Yeah, and I'm looking right there that they're putting, this surprises me really, they put sticker tires on right now. And sticker tires at night when it's cool like this are very, very temperamental on the first 2 or 3 laps until they get temperature. We almost always would run scuff tires or a 1-lap tire that we scuffed in so that you wouldn't be so slippery. Now he'll be susceptible to a spin out in the first lap here.
Great moment for Paul Mears, the man who owns this car, although it's taking a while to get that service done. Cal.
Well, the 21 machine is in the PTG BMW M3. Joey Hand, actually Justin Marks jumps out, and it's going to be Billy Oberlin jumping in behind the wheel. And this man certainly can pedal this race car, and I think he's relishing the chance of going up against Boris Said head-to-head this evening. So this will be a good, typical driver change. We understand there's a problem with another GT car out on the racetrack, but this pit stop is not going as smoothly as possible. Bit of a problem here on the right rear. This will cause a little bit of a delay. Fuel is still going in, however, so no problems thus far. But it's going to be great to see these two boys going head-to-head tonight, Lee.
Talking with Bill Oberlin earlier, he said for some bizarre reason, he said the 21, whilst it's been the dominant car this season in GT and of the 2 PTG BMWs, Dorsey, something just doesn't seem to work for this car at Daytona.
And this driver was not fully belted in when we took off out of pit lane there. You see him still struggling to get his helmet hooked up in his seatbelt. He's not done yet even. Shoulder harnesses are still loose. So that pit exchange, that driver exchange, did not go very smoothly.
Oberlin behind the wheel where he loves to be. And let's see how he can hustle this M3 around Daytona International Speedway.
He's certainly one of the best, no question about it.
In a BMW, he is the most successful North American driver.
See him there still working on his shoulder harness. He's not really happy with the fit and the comfort level yet. Now that's one of the things with these driver exchanges. These guys are not the same size. And he was used to driving with Boris, who's a very tall guy, and now he's not driving with Boris.
67 has been off track. This was the GT race leading car of Kevin Buckler. And during Calvin's pit report, we saw Kevin spin and gather it back up and get going again.
We hear he's done it again somewhere. So that could be a tire issue as well, but I think I'd be coming in and getting it fixed.
Chris, do you know more about this situation?
Just talked with Kevin's team down here. They said they haven't spoken with him. He hasn't said anything about the spin, but they are ready for a pit stop. They're looking to come in about 2 or 3 laps. He said the tires are most likely worn out, but Kevin's just trying to stay focused.
He's hustled it nicely, that's for sure, and been in the lead for the majority of the race in the GT class, and no doubt a driver change set to happen. The sister car, the 66, has already done its first driver change as well. Chris Gleason, who qualified the car very well, and has already handed over to RJ Valentine, and then of course Ian James, the quick guy in that car, will step in for the final stint in the race. Camp Boggy Creek is of course one of Paul Newman's special facilities that takes care of children with life-threatening illnesses and conditions, and this one here located in Eustis, Florida, treating these kids to a special day. And Max Pappas had to fulfill his 1 day worth of community service at Camp Boggy Creek due to that infraction and that on-track wild mayhem with Jan Magnussen. So Max enjoyed his day, and so did many of the other drivers down at Camp Boggy Creek, and we wish all the kids the best down there. It is a wonderful, wonderful facility. And there's Max strapped up, getting ready to go and take over from Scott Pruitt. More from the pits.
The number 6 car is in. Oswaldo Negri brings his number 6 Lexus Doran in. Bert Frizzell will be taking over. Now, interestingly enough, you guys had seen the car dropping back earlier. We've seen a lot of cars struggling with tires out there, and that is exactly what's been happening here with the number 6 car. They took a gamble, started on the softer 370 compound tire. They will be changing to the 480, and Michael Shank said, we thought we could do it. The air temperature has cooled down, but the one thing about this track here at Daytona, with the heat that they have during the day and the sunlight, it really absorbs a lot of temperature in the track, and when it stays reasonably warm and humid at night, that temperature stays in the track and the tire wear takes a beating, Lee.
So we'll see. We'll monitor the progress of the Michael Shank Racing Daytona prototype. Oswaldo Negri, Bert Frizzell. They've certainly created a few headlines and storylines this year for themselves. Some brilliant drives from both of them, and a great friendship, great partnership there. Oswaldo Negri Jr. was in fact this 22-year-old Hawaiian's driver coach when he did the Formula Dodge National Series and the Barber Dodge Pro Series. They not only formed a good understanding, but a great friendship, and now as co-drivers doing a great job.
Tony Stewart just went by those guys. Now that first outlap out of the pits with those hard compound tires, you're going to be slow for a lap or two. There's not much you can do. It's just kind of bide your time until they get up to temperature and up to pressure. In the meantime, Tony Stewart is on good, nice, hot tires. And we'll see how far that car can go on fuel. That is going to be the question.
The Kodak Easy Share, Bell Motorsports, Doran. This has a Pontiac power plant in it. Forrest Barber, I think, I'm very pleased for him. I think Forrest got through on the first lap unscathed.
Yeah, and he's had such a hard time with that. This car has been the winning car here at Daytona. Forrest driving right now in 10th place. We'll hand it over later on.
And if you haven't been following the series closely, Forrest has had some really troublesome times on the opening lap. Sometimes his fault, other times not. But it's been a great run so far for him. And Terry Borchella, the reigning Rolex Series champion, will take over. The last 3 races, I mentioned this at the top of the show, the last 3 races here have been won by this car. And of course, those last 3 were the Rolex 24 earlier in February, last year's Champions Weekend race here at Daytona, and then of course this, the Paul Revere, 1 year ago.
There's that brand new Pontiac GTO right there being passed. See the speed difference as you get down into the brake zone here for turn 1.
Team owner Jim Bell was saying that they are just working so hard and trying different things to make the car lighter. He said that they're running a little overweight at the moment, just working all the time to make it lighter and lighter, trying to gain an advantage.
Oh, Oswaldo, or actually it's not Oswaldo, it's Bert's gotten in there with those hard compound tires, locked them up, smoked them up pretty good. Hopefully has not flat spotted them. Easy to do. It's very easy on those first out laps to flat spot your front tire right in that corner.
Now Bert Frizzell starts to work up to speed and starting to put a move on Forrest Barber. The 22, Boris said, is now behind the wheel. And last time we were at Daytona, this car had a dreadful run, or sorry, had a better run, didn't it, than the 21?
But lately, the 22 has not had the most luck. That's
no, not at all.
Now it's got Boris behind the wheel, and he'll ring it out for all she's worth.
It was quite interesting talking with Joey Hand earlier this evening, and I said, you know, you and Justin Marks are pretty similar size in terms of height and body size, etc. I said, what about you and Boris? There's a big height disparity. I said, how is it, you know, adjusting, you know, you were mentioning before, Dorse, about strapping in when we saw Oberlin get into the car. And he said, you know what? He said, it seems a little bit easier with Boris. He said, I just set it to where I like it. And he said, Boris gets in. He said, don't worry about it, man. I'll just drive it. He gets in, puts his belts on, and away he goes. Here it is. The 0-1 is in. Scott Pruitt bringing in the Ganassi car. The Lexus-powered Riley and Max Pappas standing by. So too is Calvin Fish.
Well, Scott brings it down pit lane, and he's going to try and do everything perfectly here. This team gone for 3 wins in a row. What a battle it was at Watkins Glen when they fought back from a 2-lap deficit to still score victory there. He's going to turn it over to Max Pappas, and we believe the plan is for Max to go the rest of the distance, try and take it to the checkered flag. Now, all of the cars in DP have to run the Goodyear tires, but there is an option with the tire compound. Dorsey's been talking about the hard tires. They're actually running the harder tires on the right side here, the 480 compound, and the slightly softer compound on the left, the 370. They figure that this is the best compromise for the situation with this very slippery racetrack. Mike Hull said, we just got to run a pace. We've got to run a pace, get to that last fuel stop, and we are thinking championship. We need to score points. We don't want to do anything silly here tonight. We've struggled with the setup. We've got to try and make the best of the situation. They're just waiting for the last gas of fuel. And this is underway.
And that was the question we asked at the top of the show, Dorsey. Will these guys be the runaway winners?
Well, it's a very good team. There's no question about that. These guys do a great job in the pits, getting the car out of the pits first. And but it's not over by any long means. You know, we're only halfway through the season, so I wouldn't put my money there yet.
That's right. This is the halfway point of the 12-race series that is the Rolex Sports Car Series. You're looking at the race-leading car. And who's getting ready? Max the Axe. Angelelli is up next.
Welcome back to the Paul Revere 250, and your leader, Wayne Taylor, in the number 10 SunTrust Pontiac Riley, has brought that car in. He's going to hand it over to Max the Axe. Welcome back to the Paul Revere 250. Wayne Taylor, our Daytona prototype leader, has just brought the number 10 SunTrust Pontiac Riley into pit lane. He's handing it over to Max the Axe Angelelli. These guys are very happy with their setup. A couple weeks ago at Watkins Glen, they were so fast, however, they couldn't pick up all the fuel out of the fuel cell, so they had to make a late race fuel stop, which they lost the lead to Scott Pruitt. So the team is looking to come back this week and try and get it back into victory lane. They haven't been in victory lane since Phoenix. So everything's going very well here. Pretty smooth stop. They've got the fuel in the car. However, it looks like they're having some trouble getting Max in the car. So we're having a little bit of a delay down here. This is not what these guys want to see, and it looks like they're going to be out of here. Brian?
Well, routine stop down here in the Brumos pits. David Donahue has gotten out. Darren Law has gotten in the car. It's a routine stop. They did 4 tires fuel, and they're away. Perfect stop for these guys. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep up the pace that they had in qualifying. Lee?
Saw Darren Law earlier today. He had a smile from ear to ear. Of course, David Donahue qualified the car on the front row, and they've just had some dreadful luck earlier this year, but you get the feeling that it's turning around for them, Dorsey.
These guys have worked really, really, really hard. The 27, in the meantime, limped into pit lane and under no power whatsoever. They've had to actually push it to where it sits right now, and I think Chris is down there. Chris?
Yeah, Dorsey, actually Benjamin Leuenberg was out of fuel, so he ran out of fuel coming down, I think through NASCAR 3 or 4, limped it down to pit lane. The team actually had to push him down here, so now he's out. Didier Tays is back in the car. Jan Magnussen is not in this car. He's actually doing some testing over in Europe this weekend. We will see him later in the year. You guys had a pretty good stop. They're back out on the track.
22-year-old Swiss driver Ben Leuenberger steps from that car.
Well, it was a very lengthy pit stop because it was very, very painstakingly slow as he rolled down to that position out of fuel and then needed assistance.
Guess who leads the race? Nextel Cup star Tony Stewart in the Sitco Crawford out in front, and we'll hand over to Andy Wallace. We were talking with Tony yesterday. I said, great to have you back in the series again for these one-offs. And he kind of had a bit of a giggle and he said, "Are you kidding?" He said, "This is so much fun."
Oh, he has a great time doing this. And these Crawford folks really worked hard in the wind tunnel on this design to make it fuel efficient, to make it slip through the air really nicely. And we've known all along that this car can go further than any other car in the field.
Andy Scriven, the chief designer for Crawford Race Cars, said to Dorsey and I earlier today, when this car failed, well, that's a harsh word, but when they had their problems at the Rolex 24, he said that was one of my darkest days in motorsport. That I wanted to dig a hole and crawl into it. But they've rebounded and rebounded strong, and a Crawford car has already won one race this year at the hands of Andy Wallace and Milka Duno. We'll see what the 20 can come up with tonight. Back on board with the 01. This is Pappas. Let's get a word with his teammate, co-driver Scott Pruitt. He's with Calvin.
Scott, very humid conditions here tonight and a tough race car as well. Doesn't make for fun.
Yeah, we're out of my family at home. We knew going into it we had to take care of the tires. It just seems that the old asphalt here at Daytona is significantly tougher on tires than any other place we've been. I was trying to be real conservative on a tire. Even at that, we're sliding around a lot. So, Comp USA guys did a great job. We got out in front of the 10 car. Now we just got to keep doing what we do. You know, we got to be smart. We got to be heads up. We need to be conservative with the tires and just kind of keep racing our race. We talked about it before the race. We got to race the racetrack until about the last 10, 15 laps and then see where we're at.
Fuel mileage is always a key in these type of races, but you came in around the same lap as the 10 car. But talk about the Crawford boys. They're talking about going much further. How does that work when they're both running the same Pontiac engine, do you think?
I think we need to do an inspection on those boys. I think they got something a little bigger than we do. I don't know. You know, the Crawfords continually seem like they get a little bit better fuel mileage. I think that'd be more like 1 or 2 laps instead of 6 or 7. So, you know, the governing body will figure it out if they're doing something wrong or maybe they just got something better figured out.
All right, Scott, thanks a lot. Certainly one of the most versatile drivers out there. We saw him win a Trans Am championship last year. He's winning races here, and of course he came off a podium finish in the Nescau Cup race last year. But we understand that the 54 car may have a problem. They said that he'd be in. And here we have Jim Bell. He's on the radio to Forrest Barber right now. These boys have just trying to struggle back to their pit box right now. He's about 3 boxes away. It looks like he's going to get in here. Is it fuel or is it a bigger issue? I'm sure the team will go to work, service the car as soon as he hits his marks. He brings it in, and he'll turn it over to Terry Borchella. There is no power on the engine right now, so we'll wait and see once they get fuel in here if Terry Borchella can get the 54 Kodak car fired back up. But it's been a tough road for these boys. When they won the championship last year, Terry winning the Drivers' Championship, came out strong winning the 24-hour, but since that time it's been a very big struggle for this team. Had a strong run at the Glen, however, when Andy Pilgrim was in the driving squad along with Forrest and Terry, but since that time the ante has definitely been up in this championship, Lee.
And how quickly it can turn around for them. Borchella put in an amazing drive and job at Watkins Glen, only to have contact with the GT car, slight damage to the front, one of the front wheels. The gun couldn't get the wheel off, and they went from the lead to go down 2 laps, I think 1 or 2 laps. It was quite crushing, quite heartbreaking for them. But the champion is behind the wheel. Let's see what he can do in the Kodak car. We'll return to Daytona in just a moment. You're watching the Paul Revere 250 on Speed. Back at Daytona, you're watching the number 4 Howard Boss Motorsports Pontiac powered Crawford. And this is EFR, Elliott Forbes Robinson. And he's getting a little loose there. He is getting very, very close to bringing this car into pit lane. Keep in mind the amazing performance of this car, Dorsey. We are halfway through this race already. This car and the lead car, the number 20, has not yet pitted.
Exactly, and that's what they said they could do. And there is the 20, Tony Stewart, now on pit lane. He's coming in for his driver's change and fuel, and Chris will be down there.
This has been an amazing performance, Chris, from these guys to go this far.
That's right, guys. They made it halfway. It looks like they got about 4 or 5 laps more than the Riley Pontiac cars and the Lexus Pontiac cars. So this is the strategy that they wanted. Andy Wallace is getting in the car. Everything is going very well. They're happy with the setup. A lot of the Crawford cars seem to struggle a little bit this week. They said they just couldn't get the rear end to hook up. They were very loose off the corners. But these guys are pretty happy right now, and they're just telling Andy, hey, we want to make this a one-stop race. We might need a caution to do that, so just take it easy out there, and hopefully it'll come our way. Right now, everything's going very smooth on this stop. They're getting 4 tires in the car, fuel. Andy's already in, buckled up. So they're having a great pit stop here. This is exactly what the 10 needed and they didn't get. So we'll see them back out in pit lane. And it looks like their team car, the number 4, Butch Leitzinger and EFR, is also coming into pit lane. So they've also made it halfway.
Leitzinger set to take over from Elliott Forbes Robinson. The 20 gets released. Finally gets released. Well, now the 4-car team go to work.
Both of these cars showing that they had no tires left at the end of the stint before they came in this pit stop, sliding all over the place. And Chris, you had more on the 4?
Well, Elliott brought the car in, and now you see Butch Leitzinger getting in this car. Another pretty smooth stop going on down here. Everything is running very smooth with these Crawford teams. They're having a great night here at Daytona. Their strategy's coming together. It looks like, you know, they're going to definitely make this, I think, a fuel strategy race rather than an all-out sprint that we were seeing early on with the Riley cars. So Max Crawford, great strategist, and it looks like it's playing into his hands tonight.
And if the last 3 races are anything to go by, don't discount these guys. 3 consecutive top 5s. From the number 4, the Boss Snowplow, Howard Boss Motorsports car. So at the halfway point of the race, it was the 2 Crawfords, 1 and 2. Now Mad Max takes the top spot and leads the way for Chip Ganassi Racing. And they're heading for 3 in a row. Whoa, he's driving it hard.
He dropped it right in the hole there. You saw the sparks fly out. That's coming back up onto the banking out of the bus stop. And that hole gets deeper and deeper as the race goes on because people keep doing that.
While we watch Max on track, I just want to finish off something that we showed you earlier, the pictures from Camp Boggy Creek, which is, of course, part of Paul Newman's hole in the wall gang camps for the terminally ill kids. And Max, if you remember from the Homestead round, Max and Jan Magnussen got together on the track. Pretty scary stuff. Grand American did not like it. They fined them $5,100 each, plus a day's community service. And that's why you saw Max there doing some cooking some food in the kitchen and serving the kids. Well, let's hear from the man who's just stepped from the 20, Tony Stewart's with Chris Neville.
Tony, you were leading the Rolex 24, 17 minutes to go, and it all fell apart. You were leading when you got out of the car tonight. Everything's going well.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me about the Rolex, by the way. It's been trying to put that behind us, but no, the car is awesome. It's a brand new Crawford car, and it's a little over 100 pounds lighter. It's probably the one car in the field that's closest to minimum weight. Max and everybody at their shop's done such a great job of getting this Sitco car really as trim and as light as they can get it, and it drives so much different than the car we ran here in the Rolex. It's just a lot better car. So you know, hopefully we got enough of a distance there where Andy kept the lead and can keep us up toward the front.
Now the pit strategy tonight, a lot of these teams are talking 2.5 pit stops. Max is saying he thinks he can do it in 1. How are you guys doing that?
I wish I knew, to be honest. I mean, they just tell me how many laps I got left in my stint, so you'd have to ask Buddy Fay, the crew chief, or Max that. They're the geniuses behind this operation. But, you know, we got really good fuel mileage in the Rolex race, and I'm sure it's along the same lines as that. We, you know, we try to be real easy on the fuel, even under the caution laps, trying to save, knowing that, you know, it may be the difference between 1 lap or having to come in a lap early. So we try to pay real close attention to our fuel.
Well, he's got a busy weekend here at Daytona. He'll be racing the Pepsi 400 Saturday night.
Busy time here at Daytona International, and you're looking at Andy Wallace, co-driver with Tony Stewart in that number 20, Sitco Crawford. And Andy can really hustle once he gets into the groove, into his rhythm. And this is his car. When he handed it over to Andy Wallace, it was in the lead. They're on a slightly different strategy as far as fuel economy, etc., to the race leading cars, but there's a great scrap up front because the 10, the SunTrust Pontiac Riley, Max Angelelli sits second. There is the leading car on the left of your screen with Max Pappas. So the 2 Maxes on track, and yes, they will be going hard at it.
And we still have this fuel mileage issue that could play into this whole battle.
Well, someone who did a marvelous job earlier tonight is the owner of that number 10 SunTrust car. Wayne Taylor is with Chris.
Wayne, earlier in the weekend we were talking and you were pretty disappointed in your efforts in qualifying. You also had some problems early on in the race, but you brought the car in and handed it over to Max and you were in the lead. A little bit of a slow pit stop with put Max behind the 01, but he's catching him fast right now. You guys have a good car.
Yeah, we do. We really screwed it up a little in qualifying, and really we concentrated on the race setup. And I was able to just pick the guys off. Car was really good in traffic, very good under braking. We had something went wrong in the pit stop. We lost 16 seconds. We have to work on that one. But still a long way to go.
You guys have had a couple disappointing races. You haven't been in victory lane since Phoenix. We're in SunTrust backyard right now. How important is this race?
They're all important, but this one would be really cool. You know, as I say, we've always been quickest in practice, but we need to be quickest where it counts, and that's at the checkered flag.
Well, Max is going to finish up, so the 01's going to have its hands full.
While we watch Max Angelelli and Max Pappas, don't forget about the car in the middle. That's Terry Borchella, the reigning champion. He goes on the inside of Pappas.
Oh, almost touched him in the quarter panel. That would have put Pappas around. Terry now really trying hard.
And Terry's trying hard to get back on the lead lap. He is one down, and if he can get by that car in front, there goes Angelelli.
Angelelli up the inside with the 10.
That's why we call him Max the Axe, because he just dive bombs on the inside, chops them up.
And we know that that car, for whatever reason, is extremely good in the brake zones. And that's probably, like Calvin was saying earlier on in the show, a matter of the aerodynamic downforce that they put into the car. You put a lot of downforce in, and you can be really good in these brake zones. Watch here as he tries to get by.
Angelelli has some unfinished business. After Watkins Glen, they had a fuel issue up there, and they were desperately disappointed that they felt they didn't have everything on their side, that they could really take the fight to Ganassi, and in particular the 01. Well, now they are. Now they can. They're going head-to-head. Look at this coming up on the RX.com. Doran through on the inside, so they're going to get the inside slip.
Well, they're good. Now they know, all of these drivers know that the fast guys are coming underneath them. That the first time you make that move and you put your car in jeopardy, you don't know that the guy knows you're there. Is he going to turn down on me or not, you know? So luckily.
Kurt Wagner gives them space. Oh, wow, look at this. Oh, Borchella.
They're trying to get up the inside right here of Angelelli.
He had the best seat in the house then, as he came flying on through, and the job is not done yet, that's for sure. Up
ahead here, there's going to be a slow car in the way. Or a slower car, it's just a different class car, I should say.
You're looking at Kurt Wagner in the RX.com Doran, and in the 9 is Paul Mears Jr.
Look at all the headlight flashing. Move over, boys, I'm coming through.
That just illustrates the point on how pretty much evenly matched these cars are. How difficult it is to get by. Wagner locks it up.
That looked again like a rear brake that possibly locked up there. Look at all this dicing and traffic going on.
So Angelelli now leads the way. He was able to slip through in the traffic, done a nice job, and has skipped away a little bit from Pappas. He's opened up a nice margin. Let's bring you a replay. Let's show you how he executed that move. And it's not the first time the SunTrust Pontiac has been out in front tonight. Dorsey, talk us through it.
Right here, come up on some slower traffic. You see right there the Porsche trying to stay out of the way, but there's too many of these prototype cars.
Gotcha.
Just sides right through the middle. Sides? Is that a word?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. I'll take it then. Look here. Well, we know Angelelli and this car are demonic in brake zones. There's no question about it. But now that he's got to the front, look what he's done. He's opened up a big lead.
And remember the troubles that Angelelli had here back in February at the Rolex 24 Hours. Well, got within a couple of hours of the checkered flag and ran out of fuel. Dramatic pictures as the team took a fuel can down to him, and he was having to lift it up and pour the gas in himself, where he was completely exhausted. He could barely lift the fuel can up. So it was tough going for Angelelli, but now back out in front. Let's talk GT for a moment. And the 21, the PTG BMW, and we ride with Bill Auberlen, currently second in class.
Cutting down through the bus stop here, cuts right across the grass he goes. He'll do it again here.
Remember that the PTG BMW team coming off the back of 4 consecutive race victories and poles. They didn't get pole here today. Will they get victory here today? Calvin Fish can ask the question.
Well, typically, Leo, when we see Joey Hand and Justin Marks out of the car at the same time, it would be bad news. They've been cheering the car all season long, but now they're split up. And Joey, what's it like to be running with Boris? He's an amazing guy. What's it like to be running as a teammate for him now?
It's great. I mean, Boris is one of the greatest road racers in the world, and to be teamed up with is just an awesome experience. I just tried to get the car to the front. You know, BMW always gives us a great race car, and these guys work so hard. I just tried to stay clear at the beginning, keep the fenders clean, hand it off to Boris, let him finish this thing.
Well, Boris currently has the edge over Bill, and Bill's been sharing the car with Justin Marks. Justin, you've shared the same cars with Turner Motorsports in other categories this year, but you're now driving with Bill. One of the keys with endurance racing is a good, clean pit stop. It looked like Bill was having a bit of a struggle there when he got in the car. Any issues tonight?
Yeah, I mean, practice makes perfect on these pit stops, and you know, it's really got to be clockwork to make a fast, good pit stop. And every once in a while, just things don't go right, you know, and I tried to get out of the car and got hung up, and by the time he got in, I looked in and everything was screwed up. But I mean, Bill's a great road racer, and you know, it's just, I've seen him overcome hurdles a lot bigger than that one to win races. So, you know, I think we're in a good spot right now, and you know, you kind of have hiccups along the way, but you know, this PTG team does a great job preparing these cars, and it's kind of fun for me and Joey to go out there and race against each other when we've been together for the year, and then hand it off to our teammates and watch them duke it out. So, you know, I think we've got a good chance. You know, we have a little bit of a disadvantage to the Porsches on the straightaway speed, but you know, it's just one of those things. You know, sometimes it doesn't go perfect the whole way.
All right, mate, thanks a lot. Certainly this is a Porsche racetrack in terms of top speed down the banking, Lee, but certainly the BMWs seem to have that handling edge consistently.
And look at this. As Angelelli comes up on the 0-2, this is the sister Ganassi car. He got by Max Pappas. Now he's going by and he's going to put a lap on Luis Diaz. So Angelelli is flying out in front as you take a look at your top 6 overall and in Daytona prototypes. Brumos well placed in 4th at the moment with Darren Law at the wheel. Under the lights here at Daytona International, and you're looking at Max Angelelli, race leader, and he's disposed of one of the Ganassi cars and just lapped the sister car, the 0-2, and going from strength to strength, enjoying his time out in front. It's still Max Pappas who sits 2nd, and Andy Wallace 3rd, ahead of the 58 Brumos Porsche of Darren Law, and then the 6 of Bert Frizzell sits 5th. How's this going to play out, Dorsey? How are we going to see this end? Will these Pontiac-powered cars use up their fuel, and will we see the Crawfords come home and win with a better fuel economy?
Well, right now, it's just a matter of if they have any cautions or not. If they do not have cautions, this car will most certainly run out of fuel before the end of this race and have to come in and will probably relinquish the pit in the pit stop to one of the 2 Crawfords. Now, on the other hand, if we get a long caution, then everybody's going to be safe. But they're playing a gambling game right now. Up,
he's in. Angelelli is in. Race leader. So he flew, built up a little bit of a margin, dives for pit road.
So they played their strategy now. They're going to get the fuel they need to make it to the finish. But they give up the lead in doing so.
Chris Neville is there. Interesting stuff from the SunTrust boys, Chris.
You guys have it right. They said Max was just doing some great laps out there, build up a bit of a lead. Their fuel window opened up. This is going to get them to the end, so it's going to be a very fast stop. They're going to put new tires on the car. They're going to top it off and send them back out. So they need to have a very good stop here, get Max out, and I'm sure he's going to run down the leaders. This is going to be a pretty wild finish here to watch these Rileys and then also the Crawfords, see what they're going to do with their fuel strategy.
There's one thing Angelelli does best. Look at the Ganassi team crunching the numbers. Mike Hull and Chip Ganassi, Scott Pruitt in there as well. If there's one thing this guy does well, is just drive like a madman and drive hard and fast. Stalled it slightly coming out of pit lane, but then gets going again. The 0-1 inherits the lead. There's Scott Pruitt, looking a little perplexed.
Now they've got a decision to make too. They also are going to need fuel, and the sooner they do it, the better they're going to have track position and more race left to catch up. But the first stone has been cast, hasn't it?
Now, how do Ganassi respond? Pappas letting the lap traffic know that he's blasting his way through. Pretty interesting story. And there's the man right in the middle of it. His boys lead this championship and the race. You're watching the Paul Revere 250 presented by Brumos Porsche here at Daytona International. And there's your race leader caught in the middle of that pack. Max Pappas ahead as we ride with Terry Borchella in the Kodak Easy Share Doran.
Terry, of course, still trying to get that lap back.
Absolutely.
Desperately trying to.
A duck on the inside of Luis Diaz.
Diaz off the pace right there. Moves out of the way.
Look at the impressive pace on the car 2 ahead. The RX.com Doran caught Wagner driving for G&W Motorsports. Incidentally, G&W celebrating their 100th entry in the Rolex Sports Car Series. They've won races in all classes in this championship. And a real milestone for a great team, and we congratulate Cole Scroggum and his entire organization. Riding with Terry Borchella, about to come back out into NASCAR 3 and 4. Dorsey, what's it like at night driving up here on the high bank? You look at it up ahead, you're fast approaching it.
The one thing about, it's so lit up here at night with these new lights that they put in a few years back that you don't even really realize that you're running in darkness like this. There's only that one spot on the back that's really dark. But you know what? Let's take a ride here and listen in on sounds of speed a lap with this big V8. Trouble.
Borchella runs a little wide.
Good save by Terry. He almost went off there. It's very slippery there. I also noticed that he could not do the infield kink flat. He had to feather the throttle, which means his handling is not up to what it should be.
Currently the 54 sits back in 11th position and some 2 laps down. So Terry not only finding to get 1 lap back, he's got a bigger task ahead. And here is the 01, Max Pappas, race leader, going for 3 in a row in the Rolex Sports Car Series. They brought up the team's first and Lexus' first win at Mont Tremblant. They backed it up in the second 6-hour at Watkins Glen. And now we're back into sprint mode, 2 3/4 hours, and we're working our way towards the finish. Can he hang on? Welcome back to the Paul Revere 250. You look at the Planet Earth Motorsports Porsche and the Nonamaker family. Wayne, Will, and Father Joe lead the SGS class. Cal has more on these guys.
Well, about 5 minutes ago, Lee, they made a pit stop. Wayne stayed in the 41 car, routine stop, fuel, and 4 new Huger tires that are used in the SGS class. So these boys are well on their way. They had their first pole position in Rolex history for this team, and certainly having a strong run again this evening. But everything seems smooth sailing. No problems for this team at this stage of the game.
You heard son Will Nonamaker earlier say to Calvin that this is a huge step up for us running these Porsches in the main race. These guys are long-time Grand Am Cup competitors, and it wasn't that long ago that we saw them in very much lower horsepower cars like Acura and Tegras. And now to step up not only to the main game, but to step up into Porsches and be mixing it out there with the Daytona prototypes. Great experience for them, and they've really shown that they're a pretty slick team.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, too, that it's a whole family involved with that effort.
Word from the 22 as we look at the 38 of Andy Lally, Mark Bunting, sitting second in class. Word on the 22 BMW, speeding on pit lane and will receive a drive-through penalty.
Ooh, that's not what they needed.
Whoa, problem here for the 47.
Yeah, it's pulled off over there. I saw it a while ago, just
41 rather, sorry.
Had a mechanical. Oh, and right there, one of the cars locking up.
It is the 47 of Bob Ward. That's the Mike Boffman Racing Porsche.
It's off right to the inside of the carousel right there. It's not a really terribly dangerous place to be, but it seems to be stalled and the driver unable to get things going.
Is that a former TPC Porsche? And that's exactly where he is.
Right inside the carousel.
Well, right now, this car leads the way and has led for quite some time. Max Pappas. I can tell you that the 20, the car that Tony Stewart drove in the opening half of this race with Andy Wallace now on board, is running a very strong second and is some 23 seconds back. Let's talk more about Ganassi, though. Let's hear from the man himself. He's with Cal.
Chip, fuel mileage is always a concern for you guys in this form of racing, but there's really the first race this year that has really played into affecting the outcome of the race. The 20 car got past the halfway point in terms of laps. You boys are going to need a splash, I assume, to get to the finish.
Yeah, we are, Calvin. You know, I mean, that's the way it goes. You know, I guess we use a little more fuel in those guys. I don't understand it. The rest of their team cars can't do it. I don't understand why that one does.
Okay, well, I'm sure he'll be back working with the Lexus people trying to get better mileage for those guys. Meanwhile, let's get down to Chris Neville.
Calvin, I'm down here with Max Crawford, who maybe give us some answers on this fuel mileage situation. Well, a lot of the teams are saying there's a two-stop race. You think it might be a one-stop race. Are you going to need a caution, or are you guys good to go to the end?
Very close. Going to be real close. The two car, we changed the engine this afternoon. They had a problem yesterday, changed the engine, so we're not getting good at gas mileage as we would like to. But the 20 and the 4 car are doing very well. It's going to be close, real close. It'll be tight. It'll depend on what sort of lap times they turn, or whether we're a bit conservative right now.
If we stay green, are you going to roll the dice and leave them out there?
Excuse me?
If we stay green, are you going to roll the dice and leave them out there?
I'm pretty much going to have to, yeah. I don't know whether I should answer that or not right now. No, I think it'll be, as I say, just real close. It's one of those things that's going to come down to the last couple of laps.
Well, you've got to take a risk if you want reward.
Well, Andy Wallace is starting to eat into that lead. Just kind of a second, half a second at a time. It's now down to 22 between first and second, Pappas and Wallace. And you saw Max Crawford smash his fist down on the counter at the Rolex 24 with that disappointment. Perhaps he can raise his fist in celebration tonight. The Brumos Porsche, they're presenting this event, of course, based in Jacksonville here in Florida. And Darren Law, David Donahue will be enjoying this run.
These guys have worked really hard trying to develop this car. They've made big improvements, particularly the last 2 races. We've seen this car come more of a player to the front.
And it's been pretty well documented, their troubles here at Daytona International. Last year's Rolex 24, an engine let go. This year's 24, similar problem. So this is the strongest run here at this racetrack we've seen for them, certainly. Well, it's, of course, a much shorter race, but they're in the top 5. They're sitting 4th at the moment, ahead of the Shank car, behind the SunTrust Pontiac. And this will be a good confidence and morale boost for the Brumos team.
Of course, this Porsche engine runs more RPM than any of the other engines out here. That's one of the ways they equalize these cars to make them the same with these different engines, is RPM. That one can run anything. This car with the Pontiac power is in 3rd place right now.
We're inside the last 20 laps. 19 laps left to run here at Daytona International Speedway. We've had the 01 Ganassi car lead the way. We've had the 9, the Mears Motor Coach Pontiac Riley lead. We've had this car enjoy some time out in front, and Tony Stewart and Andy Wallace's Sitco Crawford also been out in the #1 spot. 7 different lead changes in the 51 laps to date. And it's all going to come down to who has the best fuel economy. Talking with Wayne Taylor earlier, he said, look, you've got to give it to the Crawfords. He said they're very aerodynamically here at this track. They're very slippery.
They've worked very hard on their aero package there to make the car slippery and good.
And explain what that means to us, if you don't mind. The term slippery doesn't mean to
it's just the amount of
traction, obviously.
It's actually just the amount of force it takes as the car penetrates through the air. How much drag is on that car? The more drag there is, of course, the more fuel it's going to use to get it up to the speed that it needs to get to. And there's numbers for all that in the wind tunnel. They've worked on this car very hard to get it to where it runs to its top speed at a minimal drag setting. And that's a lot of work.
And again, remember that it is a fantastic family story with the Crawfords. Max and Jan Crawford have been running a very successful business for many years here in North America. They're now, in fact, American citizens. And their daughter, Catherine, was was formerly an aerodynamicist at Jordan Formula One, and now works on this program with mum and dad. So great stuff there. And of course, her fiance is the man behind the wheel, Andy Wallace.
Andy Wallace, I should say, is the fastest car on the racetrack right now. Andy, you can't say enough about Andy as a driver. He's one of the best in the world without question. He's won many times the 24-hour Le Mans. He's won the 24-hour Daytona. When he needs to get the job done and put the pedal to the metal, Andy Wallace can drive.
We told you the story. We updated their pit strategy earlier. Chris Neville asked the questions to Max Crawford, and that reaction said it all. He said it's going to be close. He thinks they may have enough fuel to stay out there, while these guys certainly need to come in and just have a quick splash to get them to the end. So at the moment, the 20 in its debut race is looking good for victory.
Max is a cagey old veteran. He really is. Crawford, I'm talking about. He crew chiefed me to a win before, a couple wins actually, and he's very good at figuring out what you can get away with where the other guys aren't looking, and this fuel mileage thing might be it.
This is the Lexus Riley that leads the way. It's a Pontiac Crawford second. It's a Pontiac Riley third with the SunTrust team. A Porsche Fab car is fourth, ahead of a Lexus Doran in fifth. Calvin, what do you have for us?
Well, when we think about that strategy that Max Crawford is having play out here this evening, I think the key with that team is, Lee, they're not afraid to lose. And I think sometimes you need to be that way if you're going to win one of these things.
Well, and he came out very early, even before the Rolex 24-hour, and said, I said, what if you had to say what's something you've worked incredibly hard on in designing these cars, and what's going to be one of your big strengths? And he said, we have good fuel economy. There's Milka Duno on the right of your screen and Tony Stewart in the center, watching anxiously as Andy Wallace weaves his way through the traffic. There's Stewart and Milka Duno. Milka driving with Jan Lammers in the two. And they've got everything crossed, hoping for victory here at Daytona. Back at Daytona, the Paul Revere 250 continues. We're in the closing stages. Trouble, major trouble for the RX.com Doran. And Terry Borchella.
That's a big accident right there. There is Terry Borchella in there.
You can only imagine that these two guys have come together, and Terry is not pleased in the cockpit.
No.
Not at all. But Wagner getting from the car, stepping out. Day done. One-time championship points leader. The reigning GT champion, two of our champions from last year, as a matter of fact. The DP winner in Borchella. And while we are under a full course caution, race leader is in the pits, Calvin.
Well, Max Pappas brings the 0-1 car. He's currently running second, I believe, Lee, but he's certainly going to be in good shape here in terms of getting topped up with fuel and then to be able to chase the 20 car down. So he brings him in. This should be a time stop as it's under caution. Now, if this was under green, they probably wouldn't change tires with just a few laps left. But as it's under caution, they're going to change tires. So this will definitely give Max Pappas an advantage. Scott Pruitt talked about tire management. He's going to have some fresh skins on the car to go to the checkered flag, Lee.
This is interesting.
Well, you know what? This car was not the quickest car. In fact, that car, Andy Wallace, was running lap times faster than the 0-1. Now with the new skins on the 0-1, will it be quicker? Well, it's going to be a sprint race now, isn't it? Right down to the finish.
Let's have a look at a replay. It'll tell the story. Just the end of it.
That's already after it's all got in the wall.
We do have an onboard replay from Terry Borchella's car. Let's see if that tells us anything.
Oh dear. Looks like he was out of brakes. The 81 was from that wreck, had no brakes. Let's see what happens here.
On board with Terry Borchella.
He's going to get hit. I think. Oh dear. I think Court might have got in the back of him there. That's already happened. Court with no brakes, look, just crunches. That's why that car's continuing on. There's no brake pedal on that car. That might have been what caused the whole track in the beginning.
How much can change in 12 months? And Terry Borchella, is he going in there to have a chat with Court Wagner? He's looking for him, and he's already gone. Nobody's home, Terry. Let's find out more from the 81 camp. Here's Chris.
Well, Lee, actually, it's
Brian. Sorry,
Brian.
mate.
Had a conversation with Brent Martini. He said Court did not say much on the radio. He said he just got together down there with Terry Borcheller. He was in the wall on the outside and everything was fine. What he didn't say and what he doesn't need to say is neither one of those drivers is happy, obviously, by what you see on camera right now.
Yeah, it looked like Terry finally found Court.
Yeah.
He's asking, what's happening, dude?
Well,
2 champions from last year, the GT champion in the ambulance.
Oh, now he's saying, you know, look. So these guys obviously, he's telling them to think. So, oh boy.
Well, let's get it down there. Calvin's with Jim Bell.
Jim, what a difference a season makes. You open up the season with a win here at the 24-hour, but since that time, nothing seems to be going your way. What did Terry say on the radio?
Basically, he just asked us what was that. He didn't know if he'd blown a tire or what, but he was turned immediately into the wall. He got hit hard by the 81 car, and just as soon as he got turned into the wall, the car hit him again. So I think it was Court Wagner in the 81. I'm no idea why or what the situation was. We were just moving along, obviously, trying to get our lap back. Yeah, it's been hard on us this year. You know, we had a lot of things going for us, and a lot of times the car seems good, and every time we just about get something going, it seems to fall on us.
And there's more discussion. Look, it's going on. It is happening here in the lights. We said it gets even hotter here at Daytona under lights. And tempers are flaring here between 2 very nice guys, we must say.
Well, I can tell you.
But they're in the heat of battle now.
I can tell you one thing. Terry Borcheller did not back into Court Wagner.
Yeah.
That I can tell you. Now, boys, settle down. These guys are both pretty cool-headed usually, too.
Yeah.
But obviously, neither agrees with the other.
Terry, you can see Terry is saying, I'm wrong, am I? So they're hot, and understandably so. Let's show you why. We ride with Borcheller. Take a listen. Youch. And that's at about, what, 160 mile an hour?
Every bit.
Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. The Paul Revere 250 continues. Lee Diffie with Dorsey Schrader, Chris Neville, Brian Till, and Calvin Fish on pit lane. We're under our second full course caution, and this is the reason why. Terry Borcheller, you ride with Court Wagner immediately behind. Bang! Crash, smash, spin. It was pretty ugly stuff. And while it was ugly in the cars, it continued off track as well. 2 pretty evenly tempered guys, but things were flying down there off track, Brian.
Oh, indeed they were. And guess what, guys? They get to keep talking about it because tomorrow, Court Wagner and Terry Borcheller are getting on a small private plane together to fly to another race that they're running this weekend. So in the confines of a small private plane, I'm sure the conversation will continue to be heated. But also, while we were away, Darren Law brought the 54 Brumos Porsche in for fuel and brand new 4 370s all the way around the 58 car on the softer compound tire. He's running 4th right now. Don't forget, they qualified outside pole. I talked to David Donahue. He said the car balance just doesn't stay, but with these softer compound tires and a short run to the finish, they may have something for the guys up front, Lee.
Remember last year here in the BMW powered Picchio, certainly not the best Daytona prototype we've seen, but Darren Law was a hero in it here. He loves these fast, hard, charging races. There's one car between Andy Wallace and Max Angelelli. There's a slight buffer, but that won't last long. That's for sure. Lights are off on the pace car, and then a further 2 cars back, one in between, there is Max Pappas. This is going to be an all-out sprint. 11 laps when they come to the line is all that is left in this round 6 of the Rolex Sports Car Series. And look at Tony Stewart. He was robbed of victory at the Rolex 24. He could get it tonight if his teammate Andy Wallace can hang on. It's a brand new race car built by Max Crawford and his team up there in Charlotte, North Carolina. And it has performed perfectly so far tonight for these 59 laps.
Tires will be the issue now, no question about it.
Here we go, back to racing. Angelelli makes quick work of that lapped car. It's an all-out battle at the front.
I agree with the soft tire choice with only about 11 laps to go, and it's cool off tonight. Andy's going to have to drive like he's never drove.
Pappas rounds up the Southern Motorsports car.
Now they're 1, 2, 3. Here we go.
This is it. It's an all-out fair fight at the front. Here comes Darren Law as well. He needs to get by the other Fab car, which he does. So now it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's get it on, boys, in the front. And leading the way, it's the British driver, Andy Wallace, from the Italian Max Angelelli, the Italian Max Pappas, and the American Darren Law. Here is your race-leading car, and Angelelli already right on top of him.
Yeah, with that superior braking. Watch here. He's going to hound him. Here he comes to the inside now.
Thinks about it, thinks about it.
He's done it.
Squeezes on the inside, but Andy Wallace isn't going to be bullied around, but he's got no choice. They go door to door, and Angelelli makes very quick work of it.
Yeah, that was serious right there.
Let's get it down to the pits and hear from Tony Stewart.
Lee down here with Tony. Tony, Max Crawford said he could do this race in one pit stop. That yellow ensured him of it, but it closed the gap between Max Angelelli. Does Andy have a car to attack back?
Well, he just got passed for the lead, but we got really good straightaway speed, and the 10 car, was fast in the infield. That's where he got the lead, and hopefully, Andy can get a run on him on the super speedway and get back by.
Well, Andy's also on the harder compound tire, so it might take him a lap or two to get up to speed here, and I think the SunTrust car is on the softer compound like the 01.
What do you make of it, Dorsey?
Definitely, there's no doubt an aero issue. That Wallace car is much quicker in the straightaway. You see it right here. It's out top. And we've got a spin with the Maserati.
33 goes around. Emil Asentato in the cockpit right now. But meanwhile, back up front, Wallace is not letting Angelelli get away.
No, Angelelli's going to be quick through here, though. This is where that car is really good on this infield. The Crawford car better on the straightaway speed, but doesn't have the downforce setup.
Inside 10 laps to go here at Daytona. Let's ride with Pappas. And he is working that Lexus overtime.
Yeah, he was flat through that kink right there, and that's a good indication he's really strong.
We've heard from Tony Stewart. Let's hear from Pappas' teammate, Scott Pruitt.
Hey, Scott, try and break you away from the monitor, mate. This is exciting stuff. Game is back on. Who's got the advantage out there?
Well, we're pretty tough right now. We got the freshest tires. Max is putting the heat on him, going side by side down the back. So I think it's a matter of time before we get second, but getting Angelelli might be a little tougher.
Angelelli is certainly tough. You went head-to-head with him at Phoenix. Does he have any weaknesses at all?
Well, they got, our 4.3 engine and their 5.7. We just don't have the torque. We just can't get up and get going. They can carry a lot more downforce than we can, so it's a little bit of a handicap for us, but we're trying to do the best we can.
All right, Scott, good luck.
At Homestead, Andy Wallace was the big winner when Pappas got together with Magnussen, but now no such luck. That was a good, clean, hard-braking move by Max Pappas. There's the lead margin. Angelelli has disappeared, but can his fellow countryman come back and bring the fight back to him? It was Angelelli chasing Pappas, chasing the 0-1 at Watkins Glen. In fact, he was chasing Pruitt. The other way around here in Daytona, and Andy Wallace isn't done with yet either. Back at Daytona, the Paul Revere closing laps, less than 10 to run, and it's Angelelli leading Pappas and Wallace for the top three. Great run for the Brumos Fab car. The Red Bull 58, Darren Law sits fourth, and then two Crawfords, fifth and sixth, Leitzinger in the four for Howard Boss Motorsports, and the Sitco number 2 car of Jan Lammers after taking over from Milka Duno. But it's been a very impressive demonstration up front at the right end of the field by the Riley chassis cars. Let's hear from the man behind them now.
Lee down here with Bill Riley. Bill, you guys had a couple tough weekends, the 6 hours of Mont Tremblant, the 6 hours of Watkins Glen. Is this car built for these shorter sprint races?
No, I think at Mont Tremblant we just had a really bad weekend. And in Glen we had a problem with the fuel that started dissolving the fuel cells. Other teams had it. The car's made for long distances, but it's working pretty good tonight.
Max just ripped off the fastest lap of the race. Can anybody catch him?
I don't know. As soon as you put him in the seat and pull the pin, he's out of here.
Well, he finished second at Watkins Glen, and he was incredibly depressed with that finish. So he's going to be pretty excited to try and get back to victory lane tonight.
And Bill Riley says when this guy pulls the pin, he's out of there. On the previous lap, lap 62, he laid down a 147 in comparison to Andy Wallace's Pappas's 149. He is flying.
And if he can pull this win off, it's a big, huge win for him, for the SunTrust people. They've got a lot of people here from SunTrust to see this. Would be the second win for this car if they can get it, pull it off.
There's first to second to third. Fairly even margins between those top three, and Darren Law about the same distance back again in fourth place. Getting a report from the track, there's some debris in the bus stop over on the back.
That's not unusual. There's always debris over there.
Oh, we're under a full course caution because of it.
Must be big debris. Well, there's some
That's
winglets.
off the Sitco car.
Yeah.
That's off the Sitco Crawford.
That's the dive plane nose extension, I believe, off of the front end, which means there's been contact between the front of that car and somebody.
And guess who just says thank you, Ganassi. That will close up the margin, and now Pappas has a shot at this guy. Max Angelelli, the race leader. Winner in Phoenix. They were frustrated to wait 3 races for their first win, but they certainly celebrated in Arizona. Let's have a look at some replays off tape. This may lead us to the answer, what caused this caution. The Sitco car should be in there somewhere. I think it was the Sitco car anyway.
Oh, big spin by the Maserati right in front of everybody.
This was earlier.
That was
Emil
lucky.
Asentato.
That was a little debris in there because I think he got clipped by the BMW as it went by.
It's right on board with the Grease Monkey Racing boys. This was the same incident you just saw. There's the Maserati of Washington, Trofeo. There's plenty of action in the bus stop, as always. Like you said, Dorsey, that's no surprise.
Now, that bus stop gets really, really slippery. People drop wheels through there, bring the sand up out onto the racetrack. And then you see the stack up that happens in the braking there anyway.
6 laps to run. How do you play this out?
Pedal to the metal, brother. It's time to go.
Nobody does it better than Max Angelelli, but Pappas is no slouch. Does Wallace have anything to go with these 2 up front? We'll find out when we return. We'll run through our leaderboard for you. Oberlin leads the GT class, doing a great job. And the Nonamakers, Wayne Nonamaker, still leading SGS. This man here, the Italian Max Angelelli, searching for his 2nd victory of the season. It would be his first in the Paul Revere 250. He's almost there, Chris Neville.
Yeah, he is, Lee, and I checked in once again with Bill Riley. They are, in fact, on the soft Goodyear compound tire. However, they did pit quite a few laps before the 01, so he's got a little bit more time on those tires. But they said Max right now, the only thing that's going to beat him is somebody pushing him off the track. Calvin?
Well, the 01 car driven by Max Pappas is on exactly the same tire combination with only half a stint going on this last final run here, about 1450 laps. They went to the 370 compound as well, Chris. So it was certainly an advantage there. Max has slightly fewer laps on them, so he should have an edge. But we've seen Max Angelelli. He is a demon under brake, and he's going to be a tough man to pass. But what's the story on the 20 car, Chris?
Well, back in 3rd, Andy Wallace is on those harder compounds. Since they wanted to try and do this in just a single-stop race, they went with the harder compound. That's one of the problems in trying to get that car back up to speed. It's staying consistent, but he's just not able to run with these guys when we go back to green. However, if you think back to his win back at Homestead, he was running 3rd in those late laps when Max Pappas and Jan Magnussen made some contact, and that's how he and Milko Duno got the win.
See if it plays out that way here at Daytona. I guess for SunTrust and Ganassi, they don't want to see it play out that way. It will be a 5-lap sprint to the finish.
That tire compound can be as much as 1 second a lap difference. Of course, it wouldn't last as long, but that's not going to be a problem anymore. We got a 5-lap sprint. It's going to be every man for himself.
Bill Oberlin was the Rolex Sports Car Series GT champion back in 2002 with Kurt Wagner, the driver we see out of this race now after that pretty interesting altercation with Terry Borchello on the front stretch. He leads GT now and is in the box seat for 5 consecutive victories. With his new co-driver, Justin Marks, who was a little nervous before the start of this race. A lot of expectations stepping up with a driver the caliber of Bill Oberlin. Look at how close Pappas is. This is champ car stuff here, right on the back end of that car, exactly as we've seen years and years in IndyCar style racing at the restarts. And Max right up on Angelelli.
So important to get these tires clean. You got to get down into turn 1 deep. You got to bring it in deep under braking. You can't afford to lock up a tire now.
And you bet you'll see Pappas, if he can go with him, a deep, deep braking maneuver down into turn 1. But if you can outbrake Max Angelelli, that will be something special.
That car is shown to be superior in braking, no question.
Max the Axe versus Mad Max. place your bets.
He's ready. He's ready. Listen to the motor.
Let it go. Let it rip. The final 5 laps here at Daytona. Look at Darren Law on the inside. Fabulous restart.
Great restart.
Right on the inside of Andy Wallace. The Brumos is in the top 3.
That Porsche just made it great. That was Darren Law. He covered that thing. Absolutely got that start perfectly.
He was an absolute rock star here last year in that underpowered, well, I shouldn't say underpowered, but underperforming Piccio. And now look at him go in the Red Bull Brumos. 3rd position.
It's those tires that Andy Wallace has got. Hard compound, old tires. He's a sitting duck for these guys on the soft compound.
And this is a great scrap. The 0-2 that you see in there, not on the same lap, but it's mixing it up. Meanwhile, Angelelli has been able to break away from Pappas. Wallace responds, now drags alongside, gets sideways on Darren Law. Law's got the inside run and the better position for this left-hander, though.
Yeah, Darren made a mistake, missed his apex, went wide. Andy seized opportunity, went up the inside, but he doesn't have any tires. There's no way.
Darren Law is a very experienced sports car racer. Hasn't quite reached the lofty heights that Andy Wallace has, like Le Mans wins and Sebring wins, etc. But he can mix it with the best of them. Up front, Angelelli has clearly broken away.
Yeah, he's the fastest car, no question about. There's 1st and 2nd. This is the battle for 3rd. Big battle between everybody, just about.
Now the 3rd car you see in shot is not in this battle for position.
Oh,
whoa, Darren runs wide.
Went right through the middle of the bus stop, saw the sparks come up. Now watch Andy. Andy's going to have a run, a better run. I don't know if he's got enough straightaway speed on the Porsche. We'll see.
And don't forget about the 4. We said don't discount them. Butch Leitzinger is just 2 cars back, and he is on the lead lap. Here's Wallace, the outside run down into turn 1.
Andy giving it his most, but there's just no tires under that car. I mean, he's wore out. He can't brake as well. He can't steer quite as well.
Saw him get sideways coming out of the horseshoe earlier. Flat out racing here, hard at the front. It's a very small margin of lead that Angelelli has over Pappas, but it's enough. There you see it right in front of you. It's a very healthy margin back to Darren Law, and he's coming under increasing pressure. This 4 has got something. Leitzinger has got something at the end of this race in these final 3 or 4 laps. It's Riley 1 and 2. A Pontiac leads the Lexus, then it's a Porsche Fab car. And that combination has not been on the podium this year. Chris?
Well, Max Crawford was planning on leaving the 4 out during that caution. However, they did bring the car in. They topped it off with fuel and put new tires on it. So he's got a little bit something more than Andy Wallace right now. He's on the softer compound tire, real fresh tires. So you should probably see Butch Leitzinger running through these cars in front of him.
5th, 4th, 4th. That's been the last 3 races for Leitzinger, Elliott, Forbes, Robinson, and Paul Edwards. Edwards not here tonight because of the sprint race format. Don't need 3 drivers, just go the 2. Look at Wallace weaving high and low, looking for an avenue to get by Darren Law.
Andy doing the most he can, just trying to stay where he's at. He's really going to be suspect if he can even hold these guys behind him off. Particularly Butch. Butch has got the same car with newer and fresher tires and a softer compound. That won't hold Andy back. He's giving it his all. That's what we know him for. Look at the straightaway speed of the Crawford as he's trying to get by this Porsche.
And Law hugs the inside line. He knows that is his defense now, and he switches back.
See, but he can't do anything in the brake zone because the tires just aren't there. It's not underneath him.
The Brumos team have worked so hard at working on improving the rigidity of that chassis, refining. Remember, it's a new car for 2004, the 58, not the 59, but the Red Bull one is. And this will really give the team a boost if they can get this podium. But that Darren Law has not got it yet by a long way. He's got these 2 Howard Boss Motorsports cars breathing down his neck. And the SunTrust team holding on. They've only got to hold on for another 3 laps and they'll have their 2nd win of the year. Max Angelelli has said bye-bye.
Yeah, he can't even see him anymore. There's your 2nd place car coming along right there, but no contest for 2nd place.
He's got a 3-second margin over Max Pappas with just a few laps remaining. GT leading car, the PTG BMW of Bill Auble and Justin Marks. Let's hear from the team boss.
Well, Tom, you didn't qualify that well, but as we've seen in the last 4 events, you boys were out front when it counts at the end, going for 5 tonight. How's it feel?
Well, it feels good. I mean, as you saw, we battled in the beginning. Luck fell our way again this time. We actually had a pretty bad pit stop, and then Boris got a drive-through penalty for entering too fast, but we got lucky. It's a good Friday.
It absolutely is, and as Justin Marks said, Billy Auble will give it his all, he'll claw it back, and he's managed to get it back out front. But looking at their lap times, Lee, they're only separated by a couple of thousandths of a second between the two boys right now.
Great run for those guys tonight. Look at these Crawfords absolutely hounding the Brumos Porsche.
Butch wants by. He wants by Andy badly. I think he's going to get an attempt right here. You see him working to the outside.
And you heard that update on the fresh tyre situation for the 4. The third car in shot is Butch Leitzinger, the Howard Boss Motorsports Crawford Pontiac power plant. And he may just have enough time to get up onto the podium, but Darren Law will well and truly fight to the end to defend that position. Wallace thinks about the inside again, and again not close enough.
Wallace the quickest on top end at these straightaways, but he just doesn't have anything in the brake zone. The one I would be suspected is Butch Leitzinger back there with the fresher tires, although that chassis doesn't seem to be quite as quick.
1 to go for Max the Axe Angelelli. I mentioned earlier in the show, there's about 75, 80 guests here from the SunTrust organization, obviously based here in Florida. Look at Wallace now, but he's on the outside into turn 1.
Yeah, there's no way Darren's going to let him have an inside move. And he knows that he's quicker on the straightaway, so he gets defensive and moves to the bottom of the racetrack right away. 1 lap to go. Can he get him by? He's going to try.
I just remember last year, getting back to the SunTrust story, last year at the beginning of the year, it was the Bell Motorsports car that came together very quickly in a bit of a hurry, in a bit of a rush. And in the end of the year, it finished with them being champions. Now the SunTrust team, Wayne Taylor, put that deal together in something like 90 days. And now they're half a lap away from their second victory of the season, and they take the fight back to the 01 CompUSA Ganassi car as far as the championship chase.
Andy Wallace has got to nail this next corner. This next left-hander is paramount. It brings onto the back straightaway, and he's got the quick car in the straightaway. He's got to get up underneath the 58 and get a good run right here, but he's got no tires.
And Leitzinger's not done with yet either. Our race leader, Max Angelelli, is on the way home, and he is bringing it through the bus stop. He's only got to complete NASCAR 3 and 4, and it's victory here in Florida. This is the fight for third. Andy Wallace in the middle, Darren Law to the left. Bus stop for the final time. Who will it be?
Wow, it's going to be a good run to the finish if Andy can get out of here. He's got the run. He's got it.
Checkered flag is out for Angelelli and the SunTrust team. Second victory of the year for Max Angelelli and Wayne Taylor. They do it at Daytona, but side by side, Andy Wallace comes up. Darren Law's got the inside run, and Butch Leitzinger gets in the draft of his teammate. Wallace has got it. Andy Wallace on the final lap gets there, and so too does Butch Leitzinger.
A draft
driving, and they relegate Law in the closing stages from 3rd to 5th. And Wallace and Tony Stewart stand on the podium in Daytona.
That was perfect by Butch Leitzinger. He double drafted. He got up behind his teammate and pushed him up ahead, just like in NASCAR. They got a good draft, and they just left the Porsche in its dust.
And look at Max Angelelli celebrating in the cockpit, and he knew that he could take those guys at the end. GT class winning, leading and about to be winning car. An incredible stretch for Bill Auble in California. 5 straight GT class wins, and he is well and truly on his way to being champion again. Boris said had a 3-point margin coming into this race. Bill Auble will be on top of the points now in GT. Pappas draws alongside Angelelli and congratulates him. The 2 Italians, 1 and 2. 2 Riley chassis cars, but the winning car, a Pontiac power plant over the Lexus. And Wayne Nonamaker in the 41 has done a marvelous job here in Florida tonight. And they pick up their first SGS victory. An amazing performance. We've had Doncaster racing. We've had Arsco Racing and TPC Racing, but never the Nonamakers. The Planet Earth Motorsports boys come across the line for their first Super Grand Sport victory. Well done to the Ohio-based family. The Nonamakers celebrate in Florida. Terrific night of racing here at the Paul Revere 250, presented by Brumos Porsche. Sadly, Brumos couldn't get on the podium, but SunTrust did right at the top. Time to hear from our winners here at Daytona International Speedway. The Paul Revere 250 for 2004 is done, and we now have our second two-time winner of the series. Let's get down to Victory Lane and Chris Neville.
Lee, down here with Max Angelelli and Wayne Taylor. Max, you guys had an awesome race there. However, that pit stop, a little bit slow getting you in the car. You fell back a little ways, but then you were a man on a mission. Tell us about those closing laps. Well, he's cooled off now. He was a little bit hot when he got out of the car. All right, Max, you want to talk to us?
Yeah, that was an hard attack for me because that call was really unexpected. And I knew that I had to overtake again was really hard. So I was kind of really sad. And I told him I didn't want to come. So he forced me to come in. And luckily we made it.
Wayne, you've been a little bit frustrated the past few weekends. Mont Blanc didn't go the way you wanted. You were very fast there. Watkins Glen, you were also very fast there. Came up just short there. How important was it to get this SunTrust car back in victory lane?
The second place in Watkins Glen was probably the worst second place I've ever had because that was our race. So we had to come back here and put the car in the front, and we had a tough day in qualifying, but we made the race car and we made it count when it counted.
There you guys at the top end of the field. When we return, we'll hear from our GT and SGS class winners. Here is the overall winner, Max the Axe, getting drenched. Stay with us. More when we come back.
Well, as a PTG 1-2, and I know during the pit stop, Justin, you had a little concern there. You lost some valuable time, but as you said, if anyone can bring it back, it's Bill.
Yeah, he's a great driver. I mean, it's great to get a first win with Bill. He's been a big part of what I've done the last year and a half, and he's really helped me a lot. And, you know, this is a great team, you know, and these guys do a great job preparing these M3s. And, you know, we had a disadvantage to the Porsches this weekend, like I said before, and, you know, it was a little bit of a mountain to climb to get over that. But, you know, the team did a good job, and, you know, what can I say? Bill's a great driver.
Well, Bill, 5 in a row, congratulations. But when you have a pit stop like that, I guess all you can do is just put your head down.
Oh man, that was I left with belts undone. I'm like, what is going on here? We practiced this. Anyways, the team took it from a 4-lap car to a 20-lap car, and that is a big help. Keep the tires under the car. I owe it to Dave Gahagan, Tom Milner calling the shots. Justin kept it in one piece. I'm glad for him. And I want to say I love Yvette. I miss her. You know her. And I'll be home tomorrow.
Okay, congratulations. And Joey, second place. I know you're disappointed. It looked like you were knocking on the door of the first victory here. What are your feelings tonight?
Oh, you know, we just had rough luck again, man. It's just a story of my season so far. But, you know, I kept the car up front, kept it clean. That's what I could do. And the PTG guys gave us a great race car again. You know, just sometimes the luck doesn't go your way, and we just had a tough go there with a drive-through. So, you know, we'll get them again. We'll see what the driver lineup's going to be up for the next week. And I'm always driving 100%, trying to get a win.
Let's give you a rundown of the overall results. We know the podium place getters. Can't talk enough, though, about the number 4, Elliott Forbes Robinson, Butch Leitzinger. The number 4 has finished 4th now the last 3 races in a row. A podium is not too far away.
It's not too far away. And hats off to Donahue and Darren Law. Did a great job in the 58. That car developing, you know, the Porsche is going to get there.
And that's got to be frustrating, too, to be sent from 3rd to 5th in the dying moments of the race. Morales-Diaz, Jimmy Morales certainly drove very hard in the opening stages. Maybe a little too hard. Did he run the car down a little? We don't know, but Luis Diaz fought back hard. The Shank car, another top 10 finish, finishing 8th there. And the Mears Motor Coach entry ran right at the front, in fact, led. And that will certainly give those guys and lift their spirits. Quite an eventful race. And we get back into the GT and SGS runners. Some tremendous individual performances tonight. And some guys that were tangled up just at the wrong end at the wrong time. Most notably the 81 G&W entry for Court Wagner, and also the reigning champion Terry Borchella, and there they are, finishing 31st and 32nd in quite a heated debate on track and off.
I'd like to ride in that airplane with them tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we'll follow up with that at the next race meeting at Mid-Ohio.
Probably the most Herculean effort out there was put in by these two guys, Wayne Nonamaker and his father Joe. Wayne, First of all, a great job, the victory tonight. I talked to the guys down at TPC. They said the one thing Wayne has been able to do, he ran consistent all night long, and that's what really hurt us. Question is, how on God's green earth did you do that all alone for 2 hours and 45 minutes?
It was tough out there. We've been working out a lot. My dad did it. It was his birthday yesterday, so when the race started, it was his birthday, so what a great birthday present for him. We just ran consistent laps the whole race, like they said, and we had a good setup, and that's what allowed us to do it. The crew did a great job at the pit stop, and I want to thank Gojo, Speed Source, Kemp Thorne, and Orison for helping us get here for our first Rolex win.
It was a very impressive win indeed. The best finish had been fourth so far, and Joe, you guys shared the car for the fourth place finish here in the 24-hour. Very impressive of the son to go all the way, but at 55 years old, happy birthday. But what an impressive job on your part.
Thank you very much. I'm so proud of him and his win. And I just wanted to finish tonight, and I feel really great to be able to do this for all the old people.
Seeing him up there in front, did he kind of pull you along and help you slap the reins on the pony?
No, but I was watching him, and I was listening all the time where he was at and how he was pulling away. He was so impressive tonight. It was just fantastic.
Impressive indeed. Call him a chip off the old block or like father, like son. Either way, the Nana-makers down here, guys, two tough customers, Lee.
Lots of victories in Grand Am Cup racing, but that one will mean a lot. They're first in the main game in the Rolex Series in the SGS class. Here's our SunTrust Improve Your Position Award winners. And it was the number 2 Howard Boss car, the Sitco Crawford, moving up 7 positions. It was the 21, the class-winning car of Bill Auble and Justin Marks in GT. And it was the TPC car of John Littlechild, Spencer Pumpelly, moving up 4 positions to take it out for SGS. Fairly eventful race, certainly an exciting finish. The boys on the podium set to celebrate. You see Nextel Cup star Tony Stewart there, and some huge talent on that podium. What are your thoughts of tonight's race, Dorsey?
Well, it was a great race all the way down to the end. You can't have much better than that 5-lap sprint right to the wire with all these cars. It's just a great series, putting on a good show here.
Impressed with who the most?
Well,
Angelelli's speed?
No, I think really Andy Wallace. He carries the mail all the time. I mean, he had to really have that car, you know, with no tires on it, with hard compound. Everybody else had soft, and he was worn out, and he still soldiered on to a 3rd place, and he carried that car. And Tony Stewart, you know, he gets in this thing. Those are genuine smiles. He loves this car. It's a lot of fun to drive this after you get out of the stock car. I know I've driven both of them, and you know that one end's not much fun, and this end is a heck of a lot of fun.
It's got to be a credit too to Max Crawford and the entire organization with that car's first race.
Yeah.
And to come out like that.
And interesting to hear him say that it's come out 100 pounds lighter as well. That means they've really been addressing some issues.
Well, let's get back to some of the storylines at the top of the show. We spoke, and I asked you, will the 0-1, the Comp USA Ganassi Riley, be the runaway winner? You said no. You answered correctly. The SunTrust team came back.
Yeah, they're not done yet. And like I say, either one of those guys drop out of race, somebody else can take their place too.
We started the season with 4 different winners from 4 races. And the Ganassi boys, Scott Pruitt, Max Pappas, were the first to go double-up winners. Now SunTrust with Max Angelelli, Wayne Taylor. It's a Florida-based team with the Florida Bank, SunTrust. They did it here on home soil, and they did it in emphatic style. It was a very eventful race for many teams, many drivers. It was the SunTrust boys that came out on top. On behalf of Chris Neville, Brian Till, and Calvin Fish, who did a superb job in pit lane, Dorsey Schrader up here in the booth. I'm Lee Diffie. It really was a hot night's racing here at Daytona. We'll see you at the next round from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. See you then. Thanks for watching Sports Cars